I represent the not dead yet branch of Tibetan Buddhism. I'm working towards that direction. So, the title is The Deathless and the Dying. In order to die, you have to be born. If you want to avoid being born, you have to find the deathless, because the deathless is unborn. And this is the particular orientation of Dzogchen Chenpo, which is the orientation of this center here. I'll start by going through the first part of aspiration of Samantabhadra, the Kunzang Monlam, which is from the Gompazang Tao section of the Northern Treasures discovered by Rixin Godin. It's a very authentic introduction to the mind and how samsara and nirvana had the same origin. And it's acknowledged by all the great Shen scholars of different lineages. So it's very authentic, and we believe that it's taught directly by Samantabhadra himself. Why do we need to know about the source, the ground, the basis, the origin? If nobody tells us, we won't know. So, without the lineage teaching, I certainly wouldn't have known. Somebody told me in through my ear, we are part of the third level of transmission that came through Garab Dorji. First, there was direct mind-to-mind transmission for Samantabhadra himself, and this was awakened to by Vajrasattva. Then from Vajrasattva, he gave the symbolic transmission to Garab Dorji, and then Garab Dorji, appearing in our world, gave the transmission in words, which came into the ear hole of ordinary people. And we are lucky because we have 2 ear holes, so we will get more Dharma. The problem is, as soon as the Dharma comes in the ear, it goes into a mixer. And all our karmic traditions, our neurosis and so on, gets merged into Dharma. So we have to get the teachings again and again and again, and gradually get more sense of the authentic flavor of how the mind is. It's not something that you get. There is nothing to get, but it allows you to let go of the veils of illusion through which we perceive a world of subject inside and object outside. So, and if my voice gets weak, give me a shout, because I'm not very well at the moment, and I'll pump it up a bit for you. So this text, this is the beginning of what Samantabhadra says. He says, all the appearances and becomings, all the potential, all the possibilities of samsara and nirvana have just one source. From this source, there are 2 paths and 2 results. When we say one source, it doesn't mean that it's one as opposed to many. It doesn't mean it's one that you can apprehend. But it's maybe better to say it's the same source for all the different manifestations of unawareness which arise. The source or the ground is not a thing. And he's going to describe its 5 main qualities, which we need to try to put ourselves in the way of. Basically, there is, if you like, the actuality or the truth or how it is. And if you see it, you have clarity. If you don't see it, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't just stop because you don't get it. you start imagining. And we live in a world of the imagination. All the hopes for the future, all the nonsense of artificial intelligence and so on, it's just imaginings. It's just concept after concept after concept. Some we agree with, some we disagree with. So many thoughts and ideas and potential interpretations. And the mind can be busy and busy and busy, and then you die. So, a lot of thoughts going nowhere. We want to find out, where do the thoughts come from? What is the basis? I mean, the basic idea is that if you plant wheat, you won't get barley. So, the source determines what arises from the source. The source shows itself through the revelation of its potential, which is not other in nature than the source. That becomes very clear. So it's not like a kind of Manichaean view where you have a good force bringing light and a negative force bringing darkness, or you have God and the devil. Nothing to do with that kind of crude dualism. It's the same source. So he describes it now. He said, from this same source, awareness and unawareness arise like magical formations. This is emphasized so that we don't imagine that inside us there is the truth, which is reliable, which is awareness, which is covered over by obscurations. You have that kind of presentation in some of the teachings, and so you have to do purification like Dorje Sempa and so on to remove the covering, remove the veils, and then it shines forth. But here, Samantabhadra is highlighting awareness or clarity. This is a magical formation. It's not a thing. And unawareness or obscuration or invention or personal creation, this also is not a thing. Everything is moving. All that arises with the source. We can't say from the source. It doesn't come out of the source. It's arising within the source. This is very important to see. At this moment, whatever you think about this room, this is your mind. The flow of experience is continuous inside this unborn arena. So he says then, by the power of this aspiration of Samantabhadra, may all sentient beings become open to a clear awakening within the palace of the Dharmadhatu. That is to say, the Dharmadhatu means the sphere or the openness or the place where all phenomena are. And we are already inside that. We are within. When you have duality, you have inside and outside. You have things arising from the source. So I came from Kilburn to be in Hackney. We're moving from one place to another. But nothing is coming out of the source. It's not going anywhere. It's not coming anywhere. It's just within. And it's like a magical formation. So what we should already be starting to vibrate with here is, a rational analysis is not going to take us very far, because this is irrational. You can't do 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, build it up. It's not amenable to an analytic analysis. It is as it is. So then he says, Kungiji, the basis of everything. And by this, everything means everything, everything, everything. There is not one atom which has a source or a ground or a basis other than the openness, we could say, of the mind. Our problem is that we have a whole Western tradition which provides many, many associations to important words like mind, consciousness, and so on. And these are very different from the Tibetan reading. So when we hear words like mind, we have to kind of catch them very lightly. They are like kind of gestures, but they're non-definitive. And what you think your mind is and how it is you don't have to get rid of that thought. You can put it in question. Because if you pull everything back to the known, to what you know, to your home base, to your normal sense of organizing and computing the information, you just go round and round and round, and you will be your own limitation. So it's by letting go of belief that my mind tells the truth that we start to see the actual potential of the ground. The ego self is a delusion. It's a falsity. We believe in something quite false. Since you were born, you have had streams and streams and streams of experience. The experiences have come and gone and come and gone. You were 1 year of age, then 3, then 5, then 20. At each stage, you developed a particular kind of identity, and with that identity, some things were important and other things were not important. You have been a lot of different people. You have inhabited very different forms, but each of them got stamped with your name, which gives the false sense of the continuity. Oh, I've always been like this. Not true. We have changed radically in our molecular structure, in the kind of thoughts we have, the kind of food we eat. We are a potential which manifests in diverse forms. So part of our orientation here is to keep it open. Don't pull things into a conclusion. If you look for definite knowledge, you'll find yourself sitting on top of a concept. You find yourself in a dogmatic world in which the truth is something which can be found. Here, it's more like a very gentle inquiry. So, the source or the ground of everything is uncompounded. This is the first of its 5 qualities. Everything in this room is compounded. The wood has been shaped and planed and put varnish on. The cement, the plaster, the mirrors, all has been produced, put together by processes of composition. There is nothing self-existing here because we exist on the basis of breathing in and out, of eating our food, of being able to urinate and defecate. We take in, we send out of our body. We are processes of interaction with the environment. That is to say, we are ceaselessly trying to maintain this compounded structure, and we can easily die. I'm not so well, and I'm very in touch with death and the fading of all that I've known in this life. And yet, when we see impermanence, which is the basic orientation of meditation in Buddhism, when we see the impermanence of what is outside of us, the way Hackney is being transformed with regeneration, our own bodies, our thoughts, our feelings, our interests, always changing, always changing. So compoundedness is a kind of anxious way of hanging on to the diversity of the patterning of our potential as it engages with the environment. Yeah? So on a cold day, you put on a coat. On a warm day, you take off your coat. You're always in an interaction relating to the configuration of things around you. But he's saying here the source is uncompounded. It means it has no beginning. And if it has no beginning, it has no end. That is to say, the source, your source, is deathless. It is unborn and undying. Of course, the more we apply terms like that, the danger is we think we know something. You can spend your life learning a lot about Dharma, and at the end of it, you die. And all your thoughts, your memories vanish. And if you've got kids, they look at your books and your notes and they say, oh, not even a charity shop would take this junk. So our personal interest is like some ember from the fire that we keep blowing on to get it some warmth and light. But it has no truth in itself. So uncompounded. Not even the Buddhas have made the ground or the source. Samantabhadra has a special status among the Buddhas because his nature is kada, is primordial purity. It has never been defiled in any way. All the other Buddhas were wandering in samsara and through all kind of effort found a way to let go of their limitations and increase their clarity, and they became Buddhas. Sangye, the word for Buddha, means purified and completed. So you get rid of your crap and you bring up your good qualities, you become a Buddha. But Samantabhadra is not like that. From the very beginning, he has had an unobscured clarity, and that's why he seemed to be very reliable. And he's saying, the ground is not a thing. It's not made. Secondly, he says, it's rangjung. It's self-occurring. Means it's an intrinsic. It is intrinsic. It's not generated by anything. It has no cause. It's not the effect of anything. So, for example, Amitabha, the Buddha of the Lotus family, we can read his history and how he made his great vow that he would work and work to generate merit in order to create a pure land, Sukhavati, in the Western paradise that you can go to if you have faith in him, and you can more rapidly complete your journey to enlightenment. So he was engaged in creating a situation, a pure situation, but the ground itself is just there, not reliant on anything. Now, if you look around, everything here is reliant on something else. I mean, I'm reliant on the seat. If the seat was to break, I'd fall down. I'm reliant on my bones keeping my body in shape. I am dependent. To be alive, I'm dependent, number one, of air. I breathe in, I breathe out. I am in a ceaseless conversation with the environment around me. I'm not self-existing. But this source or ground is there by itself. It doesn't have to be made. You don't have to do 5 preliminary practices, the Nundro. You don't have to get rid of bad things and make good things. You don't have to do anything. You just have to not make yourself so stupid. So this is a practice, and we'll look at this a little bit later. So the source or the ground is also Hlongyang. Hlongyang means very deep and very wide. It means it's infinite. It has no boundary. Moreover, because it is this infinite openness, it doesn't stand in relation to anything else. It's beyond all relativization. So it's not like normally we say there is samsara, and we're lost wandering in samsara, and then on the other side there is nirvana. So when you see the paintings of the Wheel of Life in the top corner, you see usually a little Buddha, and he's pointing to the other corner where there is an empty circle. So that represents the potential of nirvana, but everything in the wheel of life is the turbulence of life after life. But this has no boundary, no limit. So some of you will be familiar with the encouragement to meditate sky to sky. That your own mind is like the sky, without a top or a bottom or a center, without any substance, without any rejection of anything. And the field within which you exist is like the sky also. Everything which is there arises for you through the manifestation of your own conceptualization. And if you don't do that, then you don't vomit clouds into the sky, and the open sky around you and the open sky of your mind are inseparable. Then this is jodume. This is inexpressible. So I'm going to be talking, and I'm just going to say a lot of words, and why am I bothering? I'm a good boy. My teacher said you should teach, so I teach. But whatever I say will be hopefully a little bit clear, but also quite a bit foggy. These two go together. Because as soon as it comes into language, you have that kind of confusion. That's why in the Nyingmapa lineages we have these two traditions of the Buddha's teachings. The Kama, the teachings which came directly from person to person from the time of Buddha Shakyamuni, and the Terma, the hidden traditions. And at the time of Padmasambhava, many teachings were hidden so that they could be revealed later and be free of the contamination of Chinese whispers, of everybody's ideas and interpretations and commentaries placed on them. So, although it can't be said, there's a lot of talking. And if you get used to Tibetan Buddhism, you find an awful lot of books with an awful lot of different ideas. The 9 yanas each have their different views and practices. Wow. This is the potential of the mind, which is to show more and more and more. The expansiveness takes us into the particularities of our life with others. Because sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're sad, sometimes we're energetic and full of hope. Other times we retreat into ourselves and I'm not sure what we're doing. These pulsations arise because we process our experience. We remember what we did in the day and we have some regrets. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Why did I say that? We have an internal dialogue in which we are both subject and object. The source, the ground is free of that completely. Then it says that it's free of even the name of samsara and nirvana. That is to say, no conceptual category, no schema of interpretation can catch the actuality of how it is. So you can think and plot and plan and try very hard, but it doesn't take you anywhere. It just gives you more words and more words and more words. And one of the most useful things my guru said to me is, you can't think your way out of samsara. So it's not about the accumulation of good ideas or refining your thought, improving it, becoming scholarly. Being a scholar is a big impediment for meditation for many people. Because, of course, books show you maps, and maps are not the territory. The mind that you live in is probably fairly fucked up. But when you read the Dharma explanation of your mind, then you think, oh, it's very clear. Now I understand. I understand looking out at the book, but when I look inside, I think I'll look back to read the book. So many people study, but they don't practice. It's only the practice which makes it easy. So, then he says, the thusness of awareness is the basis for being Buddha. That is to say, how your mind is, which is inseparable from this ground, already has the full potential of awakening. We awaken to the source. But unfortunately, due to unawareness, sentient beings wander in samsara. Concerned with how will we live. If you live in a city like London, it's very expensive. You have to pay rent. Transport costs go up all the time. There's a lot of anxieties embedded in our way of life. We have crazy politicians, especially these ghastly old men who are interested in war. They're not going to go and fight. They're going to send young people off to fight and die. So there's a veil of stupidity pervading most of our cultures. And this is why we wander in samsara, because we don't see the source and we imagine something else. He says, by means of what he's going to set forth, all sentient beings of who are in samsara, may they awaken to awareness of the truth of the ground which is beyond expression. What this means is it's very lonely. It's very lonely. You have to be with your own mind because you want to have the intimacy of being present in the openness of the mind itself. Now, in your mind, you have the content, many different emotions, memories, plans, hopes, and fears. When you identify with them and you generate these patterns, interpretations of the past, the present, and the future, and so on, you see the clouds in the sky because you're making the clouds in the sky. The clouds can only be in the sky because there is the sky. But when you wake up in the morning, you look out the window and you think, oh, fuck, it's just cloudy again. This is really boring. I'm going to go to Tenerife. I want a blue sky. Blue sky is better than cloudy sky. Not according to Samantabhadra. Cloudy sky, clear sky, same thing. But we, because we are addicted to this patterning of thoughts and feelings, memories and so on, grasp onto our selection of the potential of the moment, creating my life, what I like to eat, what I don't like to see on the television and so on. We go for the specificity of the items in the world which confirm the validity of my sense of who I am. So when he says it's inexpressible, well, I have many ways of constructing myself. If you want to play with small children, if they're 3 or 4, you have to get down on the floor and imagine different scenarios because they leap into these so quickly. If you're talking with very old people, you have to find the right kind of vocabulary and not speak too quickly and so on. So we transform ourselves according to the environment if we have some degree of facility in that. Our empathic attunement allows us to make more contact with other people. How we do that is often difficult to know, because when you have contact with the other, the point of contact becomes the site of the arising. And so instead of subject going out to object or to another subject, me to you, we find that we are here together, and in the quality of our being together, we have the co-emergence of this. So this is emerging out of the meeting of all our minds and our bodies being here together. That's very different from the loneliness of being in yourself. But we have to let go of the constructs which give us a sense of definition and security, the ego fortress, in order to see the dynamic flow of the factors of our experience. And when we do that, we start to see, oh, I am an experience within the sphere of experience. My life flows in the flow of experience. I am the experience and the experienced. And when we look for the experiencer, the one who is having the experience, we find there is no one having the experience. That the experiences are here and gone, here and gone. And even the experience that I am the thinker vanishes. You have a thought, you know it's your thought, and it's gone. So, I'm in love with my thoughts. You probably can tell. When I go for a walk, I always have my jacket with a pen and some paper. And then I write down my special thought in the middle of the park. Very important. Put it back in my pocket, and when I get home, I take it out, tear it off carefully, and put it in a pile of these. And I never look at them again. Because it's quite naked to let the thought go. I mean, that's, of course, the heart of all the teaching, but I find it quite difficult because some thoughts seem to illuminate something. It's a bit like our life is like a sculpture, a complex sculpture. You cannot catch it from one vantage point. You walk around the sculpture, and every step you take reveals some new potential of the sculpture. It is ungraspable, and yet it's here. So you have experience beyond appropriation. But we are trained to appropriate. Everything you did in school or college, having to pass exams, which you had to bring out what you had put in and organize it in a particular way that made a sequential sense. So, Samantha Madra is saying, be careful with this. Be careful. Of course, we need to communicate. That's the nature of being part of this human dimension. But the ground of this communication, if we see it, that it is infinite like the sky, means it's uncatchable by our conceptualization. Then we see, oh, mental activity has been presented to us in the culture as a great vehicle of learning and knowledge and even wisdom. And this is not true. Thoughts and feelings belong in the house of compassion. They are relational aspects of how we are. They are not the ground of how we are. So it's not that our thoughts and feelings are bad, but these are means of relating to other people. Which then brings us back to, do you prepare and think a lot inside and then bring your special thought out? Or do you find yourself in connectivity with the other, and from that connectivity, you speak, you act, you make them a cup of tea, whatever you do. So that it's arising not from some self inside, not some other outside, but from the lapping of the waves of experience as they flow down. So, study is not wrong, but it's for the other. It's for the other. Or if you put it in tantric language, the Dharmakaya, the mind which realizes its own nature, is for yourself. That's all you get. You get big emptiness. The Sambhogakaya and the Nirmanakaya is for the other. Manifest for the other. Padmasambhava manifested for the other. Namkhai Noble manifested for the other. Namkhai Noble again and again went well beyond physical limits of his body and so on, because he was committed to bringing value to people. He wasn't doing it for himself. It flows out of connectivity. So then Samantabhadra says, I assert that the truth of the ground is free of causes and conditions. Again and again, you can research this for yourself. When you go out of here, you see motor cars, you see people, they're wearing clothes, there are cafes and so on. All of these forms arise with causes and conditions. Your body arises with causes and conditions. Your thoughts, your feelings, your memories, causes and conditions. But when you relax and you open to your unborn awareness, that has no cause and condition. This body will die. The mind itself, awareness, Rigpa, which is inseparable from the ground, doesn't die. The deathless is the truth of your mind, and the one who dies is the confusion of identification with transient patterns arising in the mind. Is that clear? You identify with things. I identify with this body. We have to bring our body to the right place at the right time and so on. But this body is vanishing. We are all going to die. And whatever we believe about the body, we have no capacity to take it with us into the process of death. This embodiment is vanishing. But the mind itself is beyond causes and conditions. It's not a construct. So we're all full of memories. When you meet people here and you say, oh, maybe you've seen them before, how have you been since we last met? And you tell each other little stories, or you introduce yourself to other people for the first time. You're creating the image of an entity. Somebody is there and they're telling you about, they've come from another country and they're going to be in London for a while and this and that and that. And it's as if you've got something. What you've actually got is a little bit less time before you die. Blethering and gossip is very dangerous. Very nice, but very dangerous. So he says, the thusness, Dinyi, thusness means like just thisness, means the immediacy of the revelation of the ground. From this comes Rangjung Rigpa, self-arising or self-occurring awareness. So you could say the mind, the source is self-illuminating, but awareness illuminates the source as it shows itself at this particular moment. It's not a thing to get, because the source is beyond apprehension. Can't get it. Can't get it. We open to the open in order to be open and to be at peace in the openness. In Tibetan they call this Simba, which means contentment, being at peace. Or sometimes it's called the great equality, the evenness, which is not pulled in by liking this and not liking that. Without bias, it's just this. It's okay. However it is, it's okay. Now, when this is not seen clearly, trouble arises. The mind itself is not marked by any fault or limitation, by any division of inside and outside. And it doesn't go under the stain of unconsciousness or oblivion or the loss of presence. It is not, therefore, he says, it's not contaminated by any of the faults of misapprehending the nature of Rang Nang. Nangwa means an appearance, essentially it means light. The light which shines forth from the source. It is the light of the source. This has no constraint. This has no limitation. We can say everything in this room is the light of the mind. Doesn't really take us very far, because we have to have the direct experience of it. But no formulation of entity can block the actuality of the light of the mind. So in Tibetan, Nangwa means both light, like in the name of Amitabha, Nampanangze, this endless or limitless light, but it also can mean a thought, and it also can mean the appearance of something. And this is where we see this first thing about there is one ground or one source and two paths. Because if you see the light of the light, then the movement of the conceptual light flows without obscuring the natural light of the openness of the mind. So, for example, I look around the room, I see different people. True or false? Can these eyes see people? No. The eyes see light. You don't see people. You think people, you imagine people, you might remember things about people, but you cannot see people. So, however, of course, you have the light of your conceptual structure, which we'll look at a bit later, and that secondary light, a kind of hazy light, when that manifests with the natural light of the mind, then you have this thickening, which creates a density. It kind of congeals. It's like if you were making a sauce, and you heat the roux, you heat the basic liquid, and then gradually you bring in some corn flour, and you have to stir it, and it thickens. So it's like that. The concepts, the little bits of flour, are thickening the liquid, the flow of experience. It still flows, unless you make it too lumpy. It's flowing. It's a nice sauce, but it's a different quality from a clear liquid. So that's the mind, has light and appearance. And the appearance is what is imagined to be the truth or the essence of the form of the light. Yeah? So you meet someone here, maybe you've met them before, you remember their name. Oh, it's you. You are putting you into the other person. You have your memories of how they were, and you're constructing, compounding, which the ground doesn't do. You're creating your impression or your vision of the other person. So you're adding something that the ground doesn't need. In the Tibetan tradition, there are many books of commentary. And the one thing that the ground doesn't need is any commentary at all. The more you say about it, the further you can get away from it. But we are stuck, because we speak concept language, and we don't speak intrinsic clarity language, because it's not a language. So you have to find your way into the deconstruction of language as you speak it. Hello? Hello? You hear sound. Buddha. Buddha. The sound. Sound is always vanishing. Sound is what the first great potential of the ground. Sound comes out, ah, pung, het, whatever. And then it gets wrapped into this conceptual formation. But it remains sound. sound and emptiness with this patina of conceptualization. So light and sound are ever free, but they can also be roped into carrying the structures which construct the dualistic experience of samsara. Yeah? We are in Hackney. What is Hackney? There's a lot of different Hackneys. Every person who lives in Hackney has their own Hackney. Hackney is an empty signifier until you don't pay your council tax. Then it becomes real. We think we know what we're talking about. Probably not true. So, this freshness of how awareness of the source is unlimited or uncontaminated by whatever is occurring. However, when this is not seen, there is a basis for panic. And he says, if you stay with the openness of the source, its freshness moment by moment, because that is actually all you ever encounter, if you stay with that, then he says, even if the three worlds are collapsing, there's nothing to be worried about. There is no panic. So you can see now the incredible amount of agitation that there is with world politics, whether there's going to be nuclear weapons used in Europe, whether the economy is going to collapse. There's a lot of things to worry about. There's a lot of insecurity. What can I rely on? If only we could find the right way to live, if only we could find a solution, then it would be okay. But somehow, because the shape of the world is changing due to the interaction of many, many diverse factors, you can never quite get a handful of it. It slips through your fingers. And this is a great tragedy. So if you're looking to stabilize your experience by stabilizing the object field, that's a good way to burn up a lifetime. So he's saying, if you want security, don't look out, look in. That's why you have these Thangka paintings and sculptures of Garab Dorje, and he's pointing out, he's pointing to you. Look into yourself. Stop looking at me. No photography, no photography. I'm Garab Dorje. Point the camera at yourself. That's what he's saying. Because if you look out, there's all this stuff. And until you see that all this stuff is nothing other than the breath of the ground, the breath of the source, you differentiate, there's this which is not that, and that which is not this, and so you have fragmentation. And you can never sort it out. It's just beyond solution. Actually, it's solvable, but not in terms of adding this to that. Compounding reified entities doesn't lead anywhere, because the glue between them will slip away, and then again you're constructing. As the Buddha said, all constructed phenomena are impermanent. So this openness is free of desire for the things that please the five senses. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't enjoy what arises. You can enjoy everything. You can enjoy swimming in the sea, looking at a sunset. It's how to enjoy without grasping. How to enjoy and leave it at that. Not to turn it into a story of anything else. And especially don't take a photograph of it. It is very strange that people want to have representations. And in order to make the representation, they're absent at the moment of the presentation, which is very sad. So this self-arising clarity, free of reliance on conceptualization, this is the breath of the ground. So this is our situation. We don't experience this. Why is this? Because as Samantabhadra says at the beginning, there is this same source, or one ground, and two paths. There is awareness of the ground and unawareness of the ground. Unawareness of the ground arises because awareness of the ground can arise. It's not a fault, it's not an error, it's not the enemy, but it has certain problematics involved in it. When you're a child, you want your mum to be there, and you say, "Mum, where's my socks? Mum, can I have toasted cheese tonight?" Mum should provide all of these things, but the idea that you came out of your mother's body, I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that. Because I'm me. I'm self-existing. I am myself. You also? Yeah. Pretty good, huh? We all feel that we are on our own kind of self-basis. We express ourselves as if there was some egoic factory inside that was pumping out our reality. So, different ways of accounting for this. The first level of unawareness is called the causal singular identity. It's causal because it's the cause of all the problems that arise in samsara. It's called Datni Chipu Maripa. Datni can mean the boss, the master, I. It gives the sense of somethingness. Before there's any elaboration, it's just something. Now, the source is open and everything is moving in the source, a bit like reflections are moving in the mirror. The reflections fill the mirror momentarily, but the freshness of the mirror to show new images is always there. No matter whether an image in the reflection is beautiful or ugly, it will change because it has no self-existence. But so this first moment is described as dremme, without memory, without any mindfulness, without any self-insight. It's just dull, like a kind of oblivion, an oubliette. And it's not that somebody has this. This is before the formulation into subject and object. We are here in this room, okay? Just take a few minutes, look around. Here we are. Anyone not in this room? So here we are in this room, and you see, oh, we're in it. And then here I am. And the more you come back into yourself, you find yourself looking at other people in the room. So it's not the greatest metaphor, but it gives you the sense there's a kind of fulcrum point there, where there is belonging and separation. And they're not very different. Nothing much has to change. You can relax your eye, you get panoramic vision of the room, but you lack clarity. Then you focus, and you get clarity in the focus, but you lose everything else. So this first state of unawareness it's like a kind of thickening with confusion. Now, everything which arises, if you are driving your car, your wing mirror is showing image after image after image after image. They arise and vanish, they arise and vanish. They're in the mirror, but they're not of the mirror, although they are of the mirror. They don't inhabit it. They are not inherent to the mirror. So, this experience which is arising in the openness of the mind, it can't dissolve. It can't dissolve because it's a contraction. So, if you put your hand out, please. Put your hand out. It's quite nice. You can do lots of things. Hello, hello, hello. Now, tighten it up. You can't do very much. So, when you get fear, you get contraction, retraction. So that's this first level of unawareness. There is fear. Sometimes it's said to be like someone falling down a flight of stairs. Oh, what happened? What happened? So, described as being kind of a dull experience in which there's no point of reference, because the field that will later fill with conceptual identifications has not yet formed. There is just a kind of confusion. Where am I? So the displacement, at that point, there are two possibilities. One is you relax. Oh, that's okay. Or you tense up. What was that? What happened? And you start to investigate, and the mental activity increases more and more, and then you have subject and object, and they move together. So this is the beginning of samsara, is it's like a small child that won't go to sleep, and they keep crying out, "Mom, Mom." Come on, I've already told you 3 stories, you have to go to sleep. But I can't sleep, I can't sleep. They're unsettled. And this is a kind of basic unsettling in the mind. It can't let go. So this is the causal separation from the field, although nothing has been separated. Yeah? So I'm here looking at you guys, and I'm in the room with you. Both are true. But if I go back into myself, self and other, then this creates a kind of tear, a hiatus, which seems to separate the domain of self and the domain of other. Actually, it's an illusion. So, this unawareness of the source gives rise to the sense of being the recipient of experience, rather than being in the flow of experience as it arises and vanishes. No, the texts say, self-arising, self-vanishing, rangsha, rangdro, always just dissolving like the waves in the ocean, going on and on and on. But with this agitation, there's a kind of, as I say, a retraction, which you can also think of as a freezing. So you have the flow of the river, and then the cold weather comes, and the water starts to thicken, becomes a little bit soupy, when you watch the water starting to freeze, and then you have ice. The ice is not essentially different from the water. But ice has these qualities that if you hit it, it fragments. And once you start to freeze the field of experience, you have all these shards, all these dissimilar shapings of what is actually the flow of life experience, but because it's being misinterpreted as something, reification freezes the flow of life into a sequence of entities, this and this and this. And this is the second level of unawareness, in which you start to feel yourself as a subject surrounded by objects, and some you like and some you don't like. And so there's pulling in what you would like to have more of and pushing away what you would like to have less of. And so you become an active participant in the formation of the shape of your world. And of course, because we live in a very dynamic world, the object field is always changing. And so the subject always has to be busy to keep up with these changes. How could it then relax? Oh, just to be open. Because it has to keep on the job. It has to be ready to grasp things. So Dagzin, grasping at things as if they have a truly existing individual essence, becomes the way in which we start to construct the world. And then there arises the third level of ignorance, Kuntutapimarita, which means the unawareness of labeling everything. And this labeling is actually based on imagining the separate existence of these phenomena, which are both light and appearance. And the more you grasp at them, you have a world of different things. So we imagine and we imagine. That is to say, we're very good at elaborating, adding additional information. As soon as you have a noun, you have a basis for bringing in adverbs and adjectives to elaborate on the basis of what you have a story. So I'd say, I went to a cafe last night. You're thinking, yeah, and the food was really good. Well, where was that? So we're up for getting more of the things we like, and we want to have less of the things we don't like. So as soon as you have these nominative forms, an entity which is out there or an entity which is in there, I was really upset when you said that to me yesterday. I really didn't like it. You got to me. I don't like, why do you say that? We know what it's like. You get pulled apart. You get reconfigured just by the tone of a voice that someone uses towards you. We are so fragile because we are labile, because we are movement. We are movement. We are not fixed entities. But we keep imagining that somehow we are fixed and solid and reliable. So, with this third level of unawareness, we have the generation of all the different interpretations. There are some people who like Donald Trump. There are some people who don't like Donald Trump. There are people who like Putin, people who don't like Putin. Everywhere you find people who have some friends and some enemies. And if you don't like Donald Trump, you think, how could people like him? And they are thinking, how could somebody not like him? We end up with ever more particular configurations of our interpretation of what is occurring. Yeah? We develop what we would call our personality. So we're drawn to some things on the basis of our prior experience. So on the basis of this, that arises. We're drawn towards a particular quality of how we feel the world should be. So we adopt some things and we don't adopt others. So in basic Buddhism, they spend a lot of time telling you what you should abandon, the 10 impure activities of body, voice and mind, and what you should adopt, the 10 pure activities of body, voice and mind. So you should be stopping the negative and increasing the positive. From this point of view, that very activity which seems to tidy up and give some order and shape to the flow of experience is actually deluding you as to the true nature of what is there. Do you like the coffee they serve in this cafe? Yeah, it's not bad. So we've tasted other coffee, we're having this coffee, we can make an opinion. We express ourselves through our opinions. We accept, if we're reasonable. Other people have different opinions, but well, in my experience, it's like this. So I apportion reality, the sense of there being something there, the thingness of the appearance. I attribute that to a transient formation, and then I attribute a value in relation to how it impacts me. And then I project that into that situation. Say, hey, don't go into that cafe, the coffee's shit. But maybe you like that taste of coffee. I don't know. You get different kinds of coffee, different kinds of tongue. Who can say this is good for all people at all time? That life becomes very complicated then. It's like nowadays in families, different people want to eat different things. So you've got to cook 4 different meals. If you've got 4 people around the table. Oh, I don't like that. Kale. Oh, who could eat kale? It's all bitter. Someone said, well, it's the best thing about the winter. Kale every day. Not me. But when we see that, we see this is mental activity. Liking and not liking is just how you cut the cake. It's how you slice it. In Tibetan they say, rang cha, your own slice, your own share. That's what you have access to. So some of that is a stream of volitions, habit formations coming from previous lives, what we call karma. Some of it is just the happenstance of the molecules that deal with flavor in our palate. Then there's a 4th level of ignorance, which is the ignorance of the dullness of not understanding karma. And the importance of karma is that it's a very helpful way of seeing the dynamic nature of life. There's, whatever you do, whenever you think you're acting on a situation, and that you've understood the frame of the situation, that is to say, you know what the variables are in the situation, actually you don't. So you try to help someone, and you're nice to them, and they see that you're being nice to them, and then they think, oh, you're rather nice. Would you like to sleep with me? Actually, then it feels very bad, because they seem to think that you were showing an interest or an eagerness that you were not aware of. Very often people have these kind of interpersonal misunderstandings, because what's coming out of your mouth is formulated according to your template, and what goes in their ears is then reformulated according to their template, and their templates are not fixed, they're situationally evoked. No? So, as we know, human communication can be very difficult in that way. So the basis for karmic accumulation is, first, there is the foundation of it, which is these 3 aspects, the 3 previous aspects of unawareness, not being open to the truth of the ground, being stuck inside a certainty that I am the subject and you are not me. And thirdly, imagining the different permutations of the potential of a situation. So when you are embedded in this, you then have thoughts, intentions, and you intend to help someone or harm them. That's the 2nd stage. The 3rd stage is to enact that, to do a kind deed, to do an unkind deed, and then 4thly, whether you regret it or not. Every time you regret it, you slightly soften the impact of that unidirectional volition, which is why we have purification practices like Vajrasattva. So when these 4 factors of karma are all aligned, you don't only have the immediate impact of the situation, of what transacted between you and the other person, but you have the patterning of arousal which has been agreed with, aligned with, because you don't feel regret. Yeah, that's how I am. You shouldn't have said that to me. I only did this because you did that. So you have an unimpeded commitment to the movement of your energy. Then the event's over. But what you've done is you've kind of greased a particular pathway. And so you can shoot down that again and again in other formations. This brings you into the arena of somebody who's going to die. Because I am this person, I am this body, I identify with this form. This is the totality of who I am. In our culture now, most people believe that. They don't believe in heaven or hell or anything. They just think, well, you die and then it's all gone. And if you get away with it, very good. So there's the hope is to die before you get found out. So, this will die. Awareness of the ground does not die. The source does not die. It cannot die. It's just ceaselessly showing the non-dual generosity or illumination, the luminosity of the open empty ground. It's not a thing. It has no beginning and no end. But we were born. We were in our mother's body. We came out of our mother's body. That is our birthday. The umbilical cord was cut, and we gradually took on a separate existence, and we became more and more ourselves by making our choices. The individualization of our potential was a lot of saying yes and saying no. Following your parents' pattern or rejecting your parents' pattern, being on the inside of a group or on the outside of a group. It is this identification with the small, with the compounded, with the constructed. This is who I am. This is why we die. This is what death is. Death is the falling apart of that which has been put together. It was never intrinsic, it was never whole, it was never integral in itself. It was a composite formed from the shards of disintegration. So when you have this process that I've been outlining of loss of the openness to the ground, then you start to have more and more sense of the thingness of things and the thingness of yourself, and it is this thingness which will die. In your life, if you like, you've already died so many times. All that you were when you were 3 or 5 or 20, it's all gone. You can't go back in time. That was you, and then it's gone, and then it's gone. Maybe you blew a relationship apart and you feel regret. Oh, if only. But it happened, and you fought, and it's gone, and it's gone. That's our life, coming together, going apart. This is what dies. But this form, which is moving towards death, is itself inseparable from the ground. The ground gives rise to its potential, and this potential flowers as ourselves. You are the flowering of the ground. Now we know that if you cut flowers, they die more quickly than if you leave them in the ground. So the more you cut yourself off from the ground, of course you move towards death. So if you can find your roots into the ground, if you can find your belonging within the openness that you have never actually left, then you are the blossoming of the ground. And the blossoms arise in relation to the quality of the soil, to the wind, to the rain, to sunshine, to whether cats shit around them, or all sorts of things act on whether you blossom or not. The key thing for us is not to stick with the blossoming, the coming out, what I can do, whether people like you or don't like you. It's this moment, this very moment. Unborn, it's just this. So the open ground and the lucidity or the luminosity of the ground, which is the ungraspableness, manifesting into these patterns. The words come out and dissolve. They're just dissolving in front of you. My gestures are moving in the air and vanishing. There's nothing to grasp. There is no one there. There is no one to die. The more you relax back into the ground source, then you have that. So the basic meditation that we have in Dzogchen, although there are many, many different kinds of Trekche and Tögal and so on, the main thing is the Guru Yoga. The Guru Yoga of the White Art, which is simply to relax and open. Of course, we have our different tensions. Not only do we have a dynamic tension, but we can get arthritis, and then we can't open because we get so fixated on our identity and holding ourselves together. So it can take some time to learn to relax, and there are many kinds of yoga and breathing and exercises that you can do for that. But the key thing is no grasping. Let it be. How it is how it is. In order to do that, we have to ease ourselves from this organizing frame of the three times, the past, the present, and the future, which generates a kind of linear sense of progression, into the immediacy of the here and now, which is just this ever fresh moment. And in the text you see again and again they talk about soma, which means like fresh, jemba, naked. The mind is raw, it's not cooked. The ego is cooked. We are always cooking, chopping and preparing and mixing. But the mind itself is not cooked. It's not implicated. So less effort, more ease. Then here we are. You can't make yourself awake. Awakeness is a potential not very far from you. You have to relax into it. If you're trying to make something, then I am going to make this happen. Subject acting on the potential of the field to produce this. But if it's a product, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So it's going to vanish, and it's going to vanish, and it's going to vanish. So the main point in Dzogchen is these 5 qualities of the source, this unchanging, ever generous availability. This is my source. I am already within where I need to be. So where am I trying to get to? If I can relax into this intrinsic openness, then whatever is occurring in the here and now, again and again, just on the point. It's not a construct, it's not made, it's not created. But once you start trying to correct yourself, you have a map and you have the territory. And then you think, well, the map is true, so there's a problem with the territory, and you try to change yourself and be a better person. Forget the map. Stay with the territory. The territory is always self-dissolving. Since you woke up this morning, how many gestures have you made? How has your posture changed? Your breathing changed? It's all dynamic movement. Nothing to grasp. So if we stay with the actuality of self-arising and self-vanishing, which is the truth of the here and now, gradually the burden of our accumulation of points of identity can be released, because our identity has two aspects. We think it's the house of wisdom. We think, I know the truth about myself. Let me tell you who I am. We can all tell a story about ourselves as if this was something fundamental. But this is a perversity, because the story of ourselves is a story of how our potential has blossomed or not been allowed to blossom. That is to say, it's in the house of compassion. So if we release the quest for understanding or knowledge into the wholeness, the Dzogchen, the great completion of the ground itself, then moment by moment, our movement is connective. The body is connectivity. Our gaze is connectivity. Whether we look at someone or we smile, it feels different. We're invited in or we're pushed out. It's pulsating. This field, the field of the Dharma Dhatu is a field of pulsation. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Nothing is established. The main thing is the connection. Okay, let's take a little break here for maybe, say, 20 minutes, and then we'll have a second half.
Thank you, James.
Okay. So, in the Tibetan Buddhist texts, you often come across this word drowa. Drowa is a verb, and the noun means to go, but also someone who's going. We are traveling people. We go from birth to death. We go from here to there. We're always on the move. What do we travel in? Oh, we travel in a car, in a train, in a bus. This is an outer formation. Inwardly, we travel on the breath, and the breath supports thoughts. We travel in our conceptualization. We travel into the future with our plans. We travel into the past with our memories, our regrets, and so on. We're moving, as if I am the identity and I move myself around like a cursor on a computer. You know, the point of the arrow on the cursor is me. This is where I am in this movement of my life. Of course, you want to know where the cursor is on the computer. You don't want it to dissolve. If you can't find it, then it's a bloody nuisance. You have to switch the computer on and switch it on again. Luckily, our point is always dissolving. Thought comes and goes. Memory comes and goes. Emotion comes and goes. We are always losing ourselves, and we are always giving birth to ourselves, coming into this particular formation of existence in interaction with other people, and then releasing this particular formation of ourselves. Nothing is reliable. This is so important if we're thinking about death. I am movement within movement. I am a ripple in the stream of life. Life is always flowing, and I'm just rippling across the surface. And movement within movement. When the ground is not seen, it's more difficult to have this sense of being movement, because we consolidate. We make fixed. This is me. I live inside here. I look out. I listen out at the world. And the world's full of things. And I know a lot about a few things and very little about most things. And so we're trying to kind of work out, how shall I be with these phenomena? What shall I do with them? All of these thoughts arise and vanish. Arise and vanish. Gone. this life will be over. No. Our life force is held in the balance of the 5 elements in our body. This body is a communicative system. If people nowadays have heart transplant, they have to be very careful when they take the heart out of one person and they want to put it in another person, that the heart's kept in good condition. You can't sort of drop it on the floor. People are, no, because it's got to fit in and it's going to have some resistance to being in this new environment and so on and so forth. The heart is ceaselessly in communication with the liver and the kidneys and so on. The heart sends out blood to say, hi, what's going on there? Your hormones, communicative system, nervous system, sympathetic, parasympathetic, these are all communicative systems. There is nothing but communication. The light that's coming in through the senses, we breathe in, you take the world into you, the air in front of you is not self, and then, oh, now it's self. Now it's not self. Self and not self. This is our daily practice. When you see, I am moving in movement. It's not about holding on and grasping. It's about being fresh into this movement, this moment of movement. What diminishes my freshness is that if I stay in identification with some previous moment, and I'm trying to work out what did it mean, why did they say that, why didn't I do that, then you go into a little kind of turbulence, you spin around, but of course you can't work it out because it's the energy of the ground, it's not you. Or to put it another, we are thieves. The ground, the source, gives you everything without price, without asking that you're a good person or a bad person. It's offered to you, the sunset, the colors of the leaves, the lateness of the bus is all available. And this is it. It's just this. But we think about it. It shouldn't be like this. I don't know why the council can't speak to the bus company. Building up ideas. We should correct it. We could improve it. We could do this. We could do that. It's vanishing. We focus on the beginning, the arising movement. And we don't focus on the end so much. Nowadays, if somebody has a baby, they invite their friends to come around, come and see the baby. If your mum's died, nowadays we don't invite, come around and say goodbye to my mum. Come drink a whiskey for my mum. People don't do that anymore. The idea of the wake, of sitting with the dead body through the night, of being with the gradual transition from being fully alive into something else, you don't get that. It's only when you really stay with the dead body. I remember when I went to the undertakers to see my mum for the last time, and she was in her little coffin. I had a little quiet moment with her in this room, said a few things to her from my heart, and then I leant down and I kissed her on the lips. She was so cold, so cold. It's not my mum. So strange. What has vanished? In my mind, I could project, this is my mum, but the actuality is, wow, this is a dead body. And mumness, my mumness, it was fading away from it like a sunset. So very interesting. We are going to die. There are many accounts that you can read in the Buddhist texts of the stages of the death process and how the the 5 elements dissolve, then earth goes into water, water into fire, fire into wind, wind into consciousness, which then disperses. That is to say, they're about letting go. You can no longer hang on. It was never your life. You were the caretaker, the concierge of your life, trying to keep your body warm when you can and fed reasonably when you can. You're encouraging the ongoing flow, the balance between what's coming into the body and what's going out. But it's not a thing. I am not a thing. My body's not a thing. My speech is not a thing. My memories, my plans, my mental activity is not a thing. These are movements of potential. Let the flow flow. But then I wouldn't be in charge. How can I stop bad things happening if I just say, oh, let it be? Because if you let it be, you're not fixated. You're not over-involved. In which case you have a more open vision and you can see the different aspects as they start to arise. So as you probably know, that there are various traditions of thinking about the bardo. The bardo means, bar means in between, like the atmosphere is called the barnang. Below the infinite sky you have the atmosphere. So the bardo is between, always between. So we're in the daytime, we're between sleeping, waking up from sleep and then going to sleep at night. You have the bardo of dreams, the bardo of daily life, the bardo of Dharma practice, but in particular around death, as the 5 elements dissolve, there's less and less to hold on to. So as we move into death, breathing becomes more difficult. The out-breath is longer, in-breath is short, lips start to dry and so on. You can read these traditional descriptions of death. You can experience it for yourself. This which has been me is not the true me. This is an apparitional form. It has no self-substance. Apparition is a very useful term. It's one way of translating nirmanakaya. Trupiku. Trupa means like an illusory form, a kind of magical form. We live in this, we can stand up, we can sit down, we can do so many things in the manner of a dream. In the manner of a dream. Because past is gone. Where is yesterday? We were fully alive and it's gone. How could that be? How could something that was so real have dissolved? The reality is a mental construct. It's always just the flow of experience. Ungraspable. Oh. So maybe as preparation for death, I could practice grasping less and less. Which is nice, because if you have to be in a hospital, they're going to give you food you don't want to eat. And they're going to do things to you you don't want to happen. You will be a body for these people. And they will be the masters of your body. You will now have a medical body. And a medical body allows people to put electric shocks on you, and cannulas and tubes into you, and take stuff out and put stuff in. Because you've got a hospital body. That's what happens to many, many people. If possible, don't die in a hospital. You want to die quietly. So it's letting go. Letting go of our past. Our past is gone. All that we know from the past, where is it? A few years ago, I went back to India, where I had lived for a long time. I couldn't find India. My India didn't exist anymore. Now there's another India, because India is a dynamic potential that's always changing. When I went to Benares, Varanasi, I used to walk in and out every day because I lived in Sarnath. I used to walk in when I was young and fit, and I got lost. I thought, fuck, what is this? It was my city, and it's lost. I even get that if I go up to Glasgow, where I was when I grew up. It's changed. Of course it's changed. So what I reassure myself with is out-of-date information. And if I stay in touch with the dynamic, then all of this stuff I'm carrying in my rucksack that tells me what's what and who's who, just cut the strands, throw it away. We don't need it. It's this. It's always just this. And we can find our way into the moment by receiving other people. They look at us, we look at them, we receive them, and something happens. So rather than conceptualizing, oh, I remember you, I know what you like, we let go of all that. You just relate on the pulsation of the moment. Stay with that. Stay with what's possible. And then it's this and gone, this and gone. So that as we move towards letting go of this embodied presence, the construction which comes about from this collaboration of the 5 elements and the temperature and atmosphere and so on, fades away. And we go into the bardo, the transitional period of dying. So as the time of the last breath comes, all the potential is going back into the root. So it's a kind of autumnal winter feeling. You know, if you have bulbs, and some bulbs will run for some years. If you have daffodils, when the flowers finish, you can tie the leaves in a bit of a knot, and then gradually the energy goes back into the root. So that's the same. We've expanded out into this blossoming in the world, working with the circumstances, and now it's rerouting time. And we enter into what's called the Chunyi Bardo, or the Bardo of Dharmata, or the actuality of things. Chu here means phenomena, Ni means the truth or the essence of phenomena, which is emptiness, shunyata. So when the consciousness leaves the body in the out-breath, it dissolves into its own ground, which is nothing. So this Chunyi Bardo is described as just big emptiness, sometimes like a clear blue sky, sometimes only blackness, but without any point of reference. It's not about subject and object. So the residual mobilization of the ego self to apprehend what's going on, to make sense of it, to find out what to do, doesn't work, because this is now nothing at all. And then, if you can relax into that and be nothing with nothing, then you can gain liberation in the Chunyi Bardo, and that's liberation in the Dharmakaya. That again is why the Guru Yoga of the White R is so important. By not creating anything, by not accumulating, by not editing, by not adjusting, you stay open with whatever is occurring without involvement. And then you see, oh, I am the space of awareness within which the luminosity of the mind is showing this and that and this and that. And there is no contradiction between the openness of the mind, which is like the mirror, and the flow of reflections, which is like your mental experience. So if you've had that experience in your practice, oh, let it be Let it be, let it go. Don't grasp, don't create patterns, don't divide in terms of what I like and what I don't like. If you let it come and go. It's not mine. Then the process of death is much easier. So this primordial Buddha, Samantabhadra, he is usually depicted as a dark blue in color. He is on the cusp of infinite night, infinite black, and a profound blue, which could be the sky just in the early stages of dawn. So he's both nothing at all and the potential. And the key thing is he is naked. He has no pockets. We have a lot of pockets. We're hiding bits of our past, what we like, what we don't like. And we remember that about people. Maybe you have kids and they're coming home and you cook their favorite food and so on. And it's very nice and warming and affirming and completely fucking stupid if you're a Dharma person. Because they're kids, they can eat whatever they want to eat. But no, it's because I love them. I spent hours preparing it. That's your ego. That's nothing glorious. Let it go. Let it go. It's gone. It's gone. Then you're naked. Naked. Don't have nowhere to hide anything, nowhere to hang on to anything. But who would I be without my thoughts? You know? You will see. Death will come. You are not your thoughts. Thoughts are the energy. They are the wind moving in the sky, creating this ceaseless patterning and repatterning of clouds. Your life, your moods, your hopes, your fears, changing, and vanishing, and vanishing. I said before, so many of your identities have already vanished. All the people you've been, the hopes you had falling in love, then the difficulties in the relationship and so on. You've lived through all of these kind of events and you couldn't find the truth of your life. It's not a thing. The truth of your life is to be present in the experience as it vanishes, because it will always vanish. So, in preparation for death, it's a very good idea not to, if you're going to visit with somebody who's dying, not to remind them of your friendship and the things you used to do, because they're gone. I went to see a good friend of mine. When he was dying, he was in a hospice, and he was telling me all these stories about his children. I had to say to him, you don't have any children. You're a dead man. You don't have any children. He was not happy to hear it. Then he said, I want to play you a tune. He had a mandolin. I said, why you want to play me a tune? You're dying. Let go of music. He was a doctor. He was a very experienced, wonderful man. It's all vanishing. You don't have a wife anymore. You don't have children anymore. Your mind is going single and alone. In Tibetan say that like a hair pulled out of butter. You go alone. All of that is left. Singular. So if we remember when we're talking about the qualities of the source ground, the first unawareness is the singular presence which seems to be apart. And in the moment of death, you can see the actual integration of all that arises with the unborn openness of the ground. But if you grasp at the features of your life, what you did, what you didn't do, your regrets and so on, and that's what I have to tell you, shut the fuck up. Show's over, close the curtain. Because how are you going to go if you're hanging on to this? You're going to be stretched out. That's not a good way to die. You want to die into the tigli, gathering like a ball if you had little bits of mercury on a plate, you could sugar the plate, and the mercury all comes together in one ball with rounded surfaces. That's what mind, and it is all. It's sky to sky. It's open. If we don't know that openness, and we have to do meditation for that reason, we're meditating for death, not for any other reason. Now, experience arises. Where does it arise from? Everything's gone. It must be from emptiness. Oh. Then thoughts arise, which tell you that it's not that. So, firstly, the peaceful deities arise. They are arising from the emptiness of the mind, which was directly shown in the bardo of the Dharmata, of the Chunyi. But we don't see it. So when the deity arises, wow, oh my God, it's like Celebrity Big Brother or something. And you feel if you can't quite belong there. Then the peaceful deities go and the wrathful deities come and think, fucking hell, I don't want to hang out with these people. And they're gone. And these were the possibilities of finding liberation in the Sambhogakaya. This is the lucidity of the mind, the clarity of the mind arising in these forms. We are not familiar with them. It's not that you need to study Buddhist iconography. That's not the issue. It's in the practice you see they arise from emptiness. The other form, Padmasambhava, is ceaselessly born from a lotus, only emptiness, only an illusion, only an apparition. This is how it is. Oh, I have faith that Padmasambhava will save me. How's he going to save you? He's going to save you by telling you, I can't save you. Because you look at me as if I'm an object, and you want to think, Padmasambhava, you're a special object. Please save me. Sweetheart, you've misunderstood. I'm not special. I'm the same as you. We're all born from a lotus. We're all born from emptiness. Especially being born from the lotus means not born. It is the unborn awareness. But if you cling to the structures of your history, your personality, and so on, and you're fearful of what you're losing and letting go of, again, you have anxiety. Difficult to let go. Some people die with a great struggle. They don't want to let go. Want to hang on. What are you hanging on to? There's a time to breathe out. A time to breathe in, yes, but also a time to breathe out. There's a time to eat and a time to shit. If you only ate and didn't shit, you would die. So, something going in, something going out. Well, we don't even have to do it because it's happening by itself. That is the pulsation of our life. So, whatever appearances arise, they are nothing other than the luminosity or the self-display or the radiance or the compassion, the generosity of the ground source itself. But if we have spent our life saying, I like this, I don't like that, then it's a problem. So, a basic practice you can do is you go to the shops and you look at the clothes and you find a piece of clothing that you don't like and you buy it. And you wear something that you feel uncomfortable in, that you don't look right. It's not really your color. Lime green, maybe not with your eyes. I feel uncomfortable. Why would you feel comfortable in this world? This world is cheating you. You know, it's, hey, wake up. Wake up. Don't fall asleep in this world. It's too dangerous. So, discombobulating yourself, bringing some turbulence and disconnection into the field of everyday experience can be very helpful. Because actually we know we can't live on our own terms. We have to relate to the potential of the manifesting situation. The great benefit in that is the nature of enjoyment. Namkhai Norbu, in his later years, became very fond of swimming. And I remember swimming in the sea with him a long time ago in Formia. And he was just so happy. We spent a long time in the water, just the two of us, moving about, chatting about this and that. Not struggling, not working hard, not cause and effect trying to achieve something, but just splashing with the water. Meaningless activity. Beautiful. We spend so much time in meaningful activity, making something happen, generating value, having something we can show. But when you ask small children, what were you doing? They say, just playing. But what were you doing? Just playing. Yeah, but what were you playing at? How could you explain to a big person what playing is? So that was how I perceived Namkhai Norbu in that moment, that he was just like a small child, just enjoying, light dappling on the water, the cliffs at the back of the beach. There's nothing to get. The experience, moment by moment, is arising and dissolving. It's just this. But where's the doggy bag? What's my takeaway good idea? What should I do with my life? Enjoy it. But how should I do it? If you don't know, I can't tell you. You've got to work that one out for yourself. But surely that's not enough. We have been told how dangerous our world is. That we have Chinese spies everywhere, Russian spies as well. People want to take our country. We have illegal immigrants who want to take us over. We're under attack. People are worried. And the pattern of British culture will change. It will be like this for a while and then be like that for a while. There is no Great Britain. There is nothing fixed. But I want something to be fixed. Why? Because I think I am fixed. So this takes us back to the first form of unawareness. This kind of nebulous, not quite formed sense of here I am, of somethingness, which is the alienation of the reflection from the mirror. The reflection cannot live outside the mirror. If you find a reflection, you always find a mirror. The reflection is in the mirror. And yet when you look at the reflection, that's me. The image is taken out of the mirror and it loses its sense. Oh God, I don't look very well this morning. What's happened? Oh, but that's not you. That's not your face. That's a reflection. Reflection has no self-substance. We are reflections in the ongoing reflective flow, which is our life. Does that make sense? Can you see that for yourself? That moment by moment, self and other arise together. We're always somewhere. You're in your bed, or you're having a shower, or you're making a cup of coffee. There's always you and. There's never you alone. Even if you're sitting on your meditation cushion, you're sitting on your meditation cushion. You're always in relation. This is the co-emergence of subject and object arising together. So you can make it brittle and you can say, I am the subject, you are the object. I'm going to tell you about you. Oh. Or we see, in being together, the togetherness, the co-emergence of the moment arises and passes on and on and on and on. There is a mutuality of engagement. That's what a good conversation is, isn't it? Where it's not one person talking to another or talking at another, but there's a receiving and of flowing. Just as I'm looking around, looking at you guys, I'm trying to receive the quality of how you are here and allow that to inform how I speak with you. Otherwise, I could just write it out in a speech and email it to you. But it's about the emergence in the moment, fresh cooking. And if it's fresh cooking, it's fresh ingredients, and it's always, always fresh ingredients. We make the ingredients stale by hanging on to them. You know? We don't trust the ground source. Everything comes from the ground. It's not up to me. I didn't make the world. I didn't make myself. These are patterns. If I stay relaxed and open with these patterns, they arise and pass. So, as we move into death, and we have the unborn openness of the Chun Bardo, and then at this end stage of that, the arising of the peaceful and wrathful deities, if we're not able to find an identity within that, so that's why people practice Tantra. You become Aryatara, you become Padmasambhava, you become Amitabha, you become somebody who you're not. Then you realize, oh, I can be Amitabha and this person. These are alternative identities. These are roles which can be manifest in the world. So we have the 8 names, or the 8 forms of Padmasambhava. Guru Tsengye. When you read the biography of Padmasambhava, in different situations, he showed different forms. He is not one person. It wasn't that there's a true Padmasambhava and he just adapted himself in order to meet these people. He doesn't have a true form. There is no true form of Padmasambhava. Every form is the form of Padmasambhava. We are the forms of Padmasambhava. That is to say, when you're happy, when you're sad, your face changes. You have postures, gestures, facial expression. So this is what gets activated as you move into the Sipe Bardo, the Bardo of becoming, or the Bardo of birth. And if you're going to have a human birth, you find yourself by this stage in the Bardo, if you've been hanging on to your sense of self, then the ghostly form of the body you had in this life starts to fade, and you start to take on the form that you will have in your next life. And then you go into this dark tunnel, and then you see 2 people having sex, and you enter into the site of the union of their body, and that can lead to conception. And then life goes on, and you find yourself in a particular environment, some of which is harmonious, some of which is disharmonious, and a new identity formation is arising. And before you were even seen, in many, many families, you have a name. You have a name. Your name precedes you, sir. That's bad news. Because the name is a substitute, it's a simulacrum for the living actuality of yourself. So you look at a little baby and they're wriggling and squiggling and uncatchable. Then you fix their name. Oh, so this is Johnny. Hello, Johnny. This is not Johnny. This is Mum and Dad's called this poor little beastie. Johnny doesn't want to be a Johnny. Well, we can't wait until he can speak. We've got to call him something. Well, call him something. It's probably better than calling him Johnny. You've put your mark on him, like branding a steer. And gradually, Johnny-ness is absorbed into the flow of experience of this child. And then people say, Johnny, and they come, just like you train a dog. Rover! Your tail's wagging. This is how self is constructed. You want to be someone, something. You want to be admired, welcomed, included, and so you learn to play the game. Except the parents don't think it's a game. They're preparing you for adult life because this world is quite hard. And you want your children to survive, and you don't want them to get lost. So you've got to do your best for them and give them some warnings and some encouragement. You're injecting the child with bigotry and your beliefs. And so that's how we're born. So when you're dying, it's not just taking off the rucksack of what you've accumulated, but you've also got to take it out of your bloodstream. Now we hear that there are bits of microplastic in our brain, in our heart, in our lungs. Well, we've known this in Dharma for a long time. These bits of plastic are the reified events that float through us, that seem to have a fixity. They're flowing in the blood. So we want to flush them out of the system. Dodgy Senpa does a good job. Easily available, you don't have to pay him. Just comes along, sit on the top of your head. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Wash it out. Wash out the compositional factors, like the 5 skandhas: form, sensation, perception, associations, consciousness. These build up and give a sense of solidity. Because we have these 2 options. When you see the source itself, when you open to that, there is rigpa, or lucidity, or clarity. And if you don't see that, what you have is consciousness. Consciousness in Tibetan is nampa shepa. Nampa means like a shape, and shepa means to know. It means you know something. Dualistic consciousness always takes an object. We're always building something up. So when you come into this building, you look around, you see, where should I leave my shoes? Where's the toilet? Do I have got time to have a cup of tea? You're thinking about where to be. Do I know anyone who's here? Where would be a good place to sit? There's a lot of, thoughtfulness that goes into how you locate yourself in a new environment. And working it out. What are the possibilities of this situation to ensure that I get the best possibility for myself? So that's what consciousness does. And we live in consciousness. We don't live in awareness. Now, awareness and consciousness are not truly separate. They are forms of illumination, but rigpa, or awareness, is illuminated by seeing the open empty ground. And from that, all kind of weird shit arises, all kind of bizarre beliefs. You could be a fascist, you could be a communist, you could be anything you like, be a Mormon. These are all just, belief constructs. People form their lives around these beliefs that they have. But if you see the nature of the source, then you see, the source is always empty, like the mirror is always empty. And this is a new reflection arising. So it's the appearance, which is the reflection, inseparable from the mirror, which is emptiness. So this is nangtong in Tibetan. It's appearance and emptiness. Not added on like, sugar in your coffee. It's not this and that. It's the non-duality of appearance and emptiness. All of these experiences that we've had have been inseparable from emptiness. Emptiness means the absence of inherent existence. They don't exist in and of themselves, but they come into momentary presentation when you're present with them. So, when I scratch my head, it's because some sensation arises on my scalp, my hand goes up and scratches, and then that deals with the sensation. We are moving in reactivity with stimulus and response. And if you see that, it's just a pulsation. I remember in school, don't fidget, stop moving. And teachers were shouting at us, telling us, from my head, it's my own fucking... Why wouldn't you be allowed to scratch your head? It disturbs other people. So I got to smooth. Manage yourself, control yourself. Be the kind of person that is acceptable. Don't let your parents down. We were so ashamed of you. How could you have done that? There's lots of this heaviness that's put onto children. And in fact, of course, moment by moment, I'm this and not, I'm this and not. But if somebody freezes it, if somebody takes a photo of it, if that representation becomes the truth of who you are, then you're pinned. So somebody does one bad thing and they become a murderer. Well, probably don't murder many people, but you murdered. You did that. And that's you. And we've got your number. And we know what you're like. You're the kind of person that murders. Oh, you mean like I'm a soldier except I didn't get paid for murdering? Not allowed to say that on Remembrance Sunday. See, samsara is this dirty, nasty place. My own teacher, Siya Lama, he often used to say of himself that he was liar number one, cheater number one. And this is the truth. In the Dzogchen tradition, it's called rangsang. Rangsang means self-deception, self-falsity. That we construct this identity. Oh, he was, in East Tibet anyway, quite a famous Lama, and he had his fancy robes and hats and all kind of stuff. But he was also quite lazy and he liked to eat a lot. So most of the time he was just sit in the garden and his wife would make him tea and give him some biscuits and he'd dunk them in the tea, and he was very big and he had diabetes and he should have not eaten the biscuits and the sweets and the sondesh and all the deliciousness of India, but he liked to. So then he said, oh yeah, they call me a Lama, but anyway I like eating. And he used to say, you know, when Lamas die, they want to die with a mantra on their lips. He said, I want to die with sondesh in my mouth. It's theatre. Tantra is nothing but theatre. The whole world is like that. When Namkhai was getting older, I heard him several times say, yeah, truly life is like a dream. That's exactly what it means. All of these experiences arise, but you can't grasp them. They don't linger. It becomes stories. Who was Namkhai? Well, everybody who met him had their own story to tell. And, you know, one stage people were going to write all their stories, and the Holy Family decided, no, they were going to provide the official biography of the Guru, and that put a kibosh on people expressing their own things. For me, that was a terrible mistake, because nobody can sum Namkhai Norbu up. Nobody can say who he truly was. What you can say is, this is what I experienced. This is what I found when I opened myself. Or the only time I saw him, I was in a bad mood and I just was a fucking stupid man. People have all kinds of experiences. That's your luck. That's your life. If you stay with the unedited version, the rawness will take you into the immediacy of it. You can't go back. You can't recapture it, because it was never anything except a caress. It's just the luminosity of the mind. So, the deathless is the truth of how we are. And dying arises when we don't see that truth, and we live within the imagining of the true or the real difference between self and other. I'm not like you. You are not me. When you start from this conceptual identification, You take up a position. Myself. I am at home in myself. This is where I am. This is what I believe. In the text they say, Rangsa Dro. Rangsa means your own place. Dro means liberated. To be liberated in your own place is to see that your own place is unborn emptiness. It is the Dharma Dhatu. It's not what's on your passport. It's not who other people told you were, teachers at school or parents. None of these narratives is your own place. Your own place is just this. Relax in the out-breath. The flow of experience. Nothing to say. Everything. You receive everything. Everything is given to you. The sun and the moon. Everything. For free. And once you start trying to get what you want, you cut up the world, you make a collage, which is artifice, which is construction, and then you sit in your own little construct until you die. And whack, gone, bye-bye. So it's always about letting go, letting go. More is less. Less is more. The less you try, the more you get. Because when you try, when you put the blinkers on, when you are about something, you're mobilizing your resources in a particular direction to optimize the benefit you can extract from this moment. But this moment's already going. Where's the pockets? Where do you keep it? Because your story about what happened and someone else who's in the same place at the same time, their story of what happened is different. How can that be? There is no objective truth. You'll find this in all the schools of Buddhism. There is no objective truth. It's always subjective because it's about the mind. Now because we've got this pseudoscientific worldview that we live in, which is about data and constructions and randomized controlled trials and so on. We're trying to get to the objective truth of something. But that's not our life. Our life is this tingling vibrancy of what touches us, what moves us. And if you stay with that, it's always dissolving. Always dissolving. So then, when you move towards death, you've already been practicing letting go and letting go, letting go. All the things you used to do, you don't do. So I'm not a psychotherapist. I wouldn't like to see anyone for psychotherapy. I've heard enough fucking stories of misery and trouble and enough. Basta così. I could do it. Why would I do it? So I have to let go of that role. Let go of all that knowledge. I used to teach different kinds of psychotherapy in different institutes. It's like clouds of smoke. It's gone. Let it go. But then who are you? Let's see. Let's see. See. Depending on the situation, I'll manifest one way or another. Be like that. We don't know. Whereas if you say, but this is who I am, and how I was yesterday is how I will be today, you're holding on to something. So letting time flow, being in the flow of time, the only place that time actually flows is not down the river of past, present, and future. It flows in the immediacy of here and now. And if you live within here and now, you're always fresh, always naked, always raw, and able to respond to different situations. When we're young and we get anxious and, might say to our parents, what will I do? What will I say? Well, it'll be okay. You just go to school and you have to tell them what you did in the summer, and that's what everyone will be doing. Yeah, but what will I say? Because it's quite difficult. How will I say the right thing? Because we're imagining that there is some truth, or everyone will clap if I do it just right. And it takes most of us a long time to realize that that's a completely fraudulent exercise, because you're trying to pretend to be someone you're not in order to be okay and normal and fit in. And whatever you do, some people will like you and some people won't like you. So letting it go, letting it go. The deathless is not dead. The deathless is the unstopped flow of experience. Experience is uncatchable because it is unborn. Just like the reflection in a mirror is unborn. You can't take the reflection out of the mirror. You can't take the memory out of your mind, the thought out of your mind. They arise in the mind. Oh, I have these obsessional thoughts, I can't bear them. Let them be. Now, you say that in the NHS, people don't like you. They say, but how can I get rid of these obsessional thoughts? Well, the best way is just breathe out and let it wash through you. I can't bear it, it makes me crazy. You're in a city full of crazy people. What are you worried about, you know? But we don't want it to happen. I need to be in charge of my life. That's how you head to death. By thinking, I have a life and I'm in charge of it and I'm going to make it happen in the right way. So, how do we get to the deathless? It helps if you get a lineage transmission, but it's not essential. The main thing is to be open to the potential, to study the Dharma, to join a Dharma study group, gain some connection. Eventually you can get a transmission from someone. What shall I do? Very little. When you sit, do you believe that the world needs your commentary? Sitting in the garden, blackbirds singing. Oh, the blackbird's back. Leave it alone. Don't we comment. We're like a dog pissing on a lamppost. We make it ours by merging it into the flow of our experience. I often experience this in Kilburn because it's an area with many people from a background culture where people don't smile, especially men shouldn't smile at women. So I often want to say, how are you doing? Or that's a nice scarf you've got covering most of you. But you can't say that. And I think, James, why do you think that your comment would bring any value to this person's life? They don't want it. It's manifest they don't want it. Shut up. Now, being from Glasgow, we talk a lot there and we comment on people. But the world has changed. That community don't want any comment from strange men onto women. Forbidden. Haram. We don't do that. Okay. But I want to say something because I feel this is a gesture of connectivity and warmth, and you smile at people. That's a world. It's not this world anymore. The world has changed. So my repertoire of moves for connectivity has to be revised in terms of how is the field? How is it? How are we being together? That's a very big shift. The assumptions that I brought from my childhood, I can't apply. So I have to stay with the possibility of the situation. Oh. The world doesn't need my commentary, my evaluation, my judgment. We have theatre critics and ballet critics. We also have life critics. We don't need it. But what is it when you form an opinion and you want to share it with someone? So we looked at these 4 aspects of unawareness. The third one, the one of imagining or naming or defining what occurs, this is the terrain of commentary and evaluation and judgment. We experience what's happening and we sort it out, we formulate a conclusion, and then we want to share the conclusion. But what's the frame of reference? This person doesn't want to hear my opinion. But I want to voice my opinion. So then the question has to be, why? Because I'm still trying to pin the tail on the donkey. You know, when you do that, put blindfold on the children and they've got to try and tackle it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to work out. I have all these thoughts and feelings, and surely there must be a currency somewhere. But it's only valid in the bank of me. You try and take the coin out and give it to someone else. They say, we don't accept this currency. It doesn't transact between us. And we see with Donald Trump and people like that, he's vomiting these crazy opinions all the time, as are so many of our politicians and gangsters. Release mental energy. If we remember, clarity as to the open, empty ground is wisdom. That's the Dharmakaya, to see the emptiness of your own source ground, just sitting. Then subtle thoughts and feelings, sound, lights, rainbow light and so on, arise, and they can go into patterns of speech and so on. And you've got something. This is ignorance. You stay with the potential, stay in touch of the field. Here's your potential. There's a lot you could do in order to connect. What is the situation of the other? Because in non-duality, the situation of the field is the determinant of the validity of what you bring into the field. Does that make sense? From the ego position, I feel it very strongly and I want to tell you because this is what I believe. Bam! You're crashing into people with your view. Relax, breathe out, let it go. What's the feeling? What's the feeling tone? And then you have to respond or not, depending on the space. Ripeness is all. And if the moment isn't ripe, there's nothing to say. So when something is arising in you and you want to bring it out, the question is, should I just let it go? Because it's going anyway. It doesn't have to come out through my mouth or my facial expression. It just dissolves. Rangsha Rangro, self-arising, self-liberating, vanishing. Oh, then we're so much lighter. We don't need to tell the world what it is, or to correct other people, or to point out what might be useful to them. All of these might, in a formal sense, seem kind or compassionate or helpful. But what is their situation? Well, they're a sentient being, and people like that. You know, they need that. People need somebody, a friendly face. That's an abstract conceptualization. At this moment, this person, how are they available or not? Availability is everything. So, when we prepare, if we're going to be reborn in the human situation, it's always about what is the plasticity of my formation? Can I respond into the situation, according to the situation, without bringing any extra factors, something that I prepared earlier? And that's what's really difficult. And that's what meditation is all about. Is that so many things arise, let it be. Let it be. Nothing to do about it. Just let it be. And in that way, as you see directly the unborn arising, which is vanishing, it's not dying, but it's vanishing. This is happening within the source. You are inseparable from the ground source. And then you can stay with the presence of the ground source in every situation in life. Oh, we're just about coming to the end of this. Yeah. There are so many Dharma teachings you can study. But the key thing is to get the sense of unborn emptiness. That when you construct something, I don't know, maybe you like knitting, or you want to make a little table, or you're going to make a cake, and you get the ingredients and you bring them together in a particular pattern, and you create something. The process of what you've created will continue when you think you've stopped, because if you leave the cake, gradually it will get musty and moldy. It has a time for it. Whatever you make has a function, a situationality. It's not a self-existing thing, because you've created it according to circumstances, and it functions according to circumstances. And then when circumstances change, it's no longer valid. So I'm in a state they call pre-diabetic, so I shouldn't take much sugar. So it's like that. So I look at something, I think, that looks gorgeous, but no thank you. Oh, no thank you. It's like that, isn't it? We live in this world where the articulation of the 5 elements opens some doors and closes others. We are part of that flow, that pulsation. We are not fixed entities. Because we are not fixed entities, we're not going to die. The flow of experience of this life will dissolve like clouds into the clear blue sky, and then within that sky many experiences arise, and wherever you enter into being with them, you take birth in one realm or another. It's just like that, on and on and on. And if you can take birth in Pure Land, or in the heart of Padmasambhava, then you have a particular kind of experience. And if you're born in Hackney, you get another kind of experience. You could even be born in the heart of Padmasambhava in Hackney, which would be the best. Well, my dear friends, time has come to say goodbye. Pleasure being with you, sharing a little bit of that. Please enter into the practice. Don't let this life run away and leave you behind. The end. Hey. Hey.